Today, I want to talk to you about how you can work more effectively with a data analyst, whether that's somebody that you've hired externally and they're giving you a hand, or perhaps it's someone from a different department, or even somebody within your team. Also, if you stick around to the end, there's a bonus tip, a key question that you can ask data analysts in order to assess whether or not they know what they're on about. Always start with the problem. Don't come to people with a solution, particularly when it comes to data analysts, because what they're trying to do is apply their understanding of the data domain to a particular business issue. And if you present to them a solution or a potential solution to your question or to your hypothesis, then what you're effectively doing is creating boundaries that they can work within. And you might end up getting a result that aligns fairly well with what your solution was intending to be. But unfortunately, that means that you're probably not going to get the creativity and the flexibility that you would expect out of a data analyst. My second suggestion is to always build up the context. Some data analysts are not amazing at digging really deep into the problem domain. And what I mean by that is if they're not peppering you with questions immediately after you come to them, then you should probably be a little bit nervous, because the best analysts are the ones that really understand the fundamentals of the business area that they're analyzing. If they're not asking you those questions, then they're probably not building up that context around what the problem might be, allowing them to craft more effective outlier exclusions. You should always come to them with a hypothesis about what you think could be driving a particular problem. So let's say that you have a steep drop off in one of your marketing channels and you really want to understand what the potential drivers of that could be. You should come to them and say, I've got this problem. There's been a massive drop off in this particular channel. My hypothesis is that users from the West Coast aren't being targeted effectively. That allows them to go off in a direction. At least they have a little bit of a boundary to work within, because otherwise you might not allow them to explore avenues or the potential avenues that you've already identified in the time box that they have been given to work on this particular problem. Don't count your rows before they hatch. I've never solved a data problem without having to find some creative solutions to data quality issues. If you know that there's periods of data or data quality concerns in the problem space that you're working within, be upfront about them and try to act as a sounding board for your data analyst to help them to come up with those creative solutions. And that brings me to my final and bonus tip. If you're not getting these kind of questions from your data analyst and they're not coming to you and saying, hey, I think that there might be a problem with this data, or I think that I'm going to need to come up with a proxy for this particular answer that we're looking for, you probably need to ask more questions of them, because working with data is so much an art and a science combined. Asking those questions should give you confidence that you can trust the data that you're getting out at the end. And what I mean by that is you can say, I want some high-level statistical guidance on whether or not the data quality that we're looking at is high enough. So you could say, ask for a row count. Okay, 120,000 rows. We're looking at 3 months of data. That sounds about right. Or you could offer some very high-level aggregate statistics like standard deviation, an average, a median, quartile splits. These are all things that help to create what data analysts refer to as the shape of data. And the shape of data really helps them to get a quick guide on whether or not what they're looking at is realistic. You can also ask those questions, and if you do, it'll probably help to identify some areas where there's perhaps a misalignment between your analyst's understanding and what the reality of the business world requires.